Amidst the howling storm, a small flower blooms quietly, not because the storm has weakened, but because it knows how to bend to survive. In this life, you cannot stop the wind from blowing, but you can learn to stand firm in it. This is not just a story about a flower, it is a story about you. And how Stoic wisdom helps you be gentle, even when life is stormy. Don't look away. You are about to hear something that can change the way you face adversity. Before we get to the main content, please subscribe to the Legacy of Thinkers channel so you don't miss our interesting videos. Part 1 Main Content. In a small valley, where dark clouds often come suddenly and whirlwinds howl as if they want to swallow the whole hill, there is a small flower growing in the crevices of rocks. No one knows where it came from. No one expects it to survive, let alone bloom. Around it, other flowers had grown and were quickly swept away by the wind. Leaves fell, petals broke, stems were lifted from the ground. Every storm was a fierce purge, and few dared to believe that this place could sustain life. But the flower was still there. Every morning, when the sunlight filtered through the gray clouds, it bloomed again, fragile, gentle, but also proud, not because it was stronger than the storms, but because it did not try to resist them. When the wind blew in the distance, when the ground shook gently as a warning from nature, it did not stand up straight in defiance. It did not raise its head to prove anything. It simply bowed, not in surrender, but to let the storm pass. And when the rain stopped, the ground softened, the light returned, it slowly rose again, gently, as if the storm had never touched it. People began to call it the flower of calmness, not because it is not afraid, but because it knows when to be gentle, and when to be strong. It does not complain, does not blame the weather. It does not show off that it is an immortal flower. It just lives, in its own way, quietly but deeply. One day, a boy wandered into the valley while running away from an anger in his heart. He had just fought with his friend, was scolded by his parents. His mind was as confused as the storm that was coming here. And then he saw the flower. Small, alone, but still standing there in the howling wind. The boy sat down, his hand trembling as he touched the petal. Strangely, it did not tremble, nor did it avoid, it just swayed slightly in the wind, as if it was telling him something that his heart could not yet put into words. "How are you not afraid?" he asked unconsciously. Of course, the flower did not answer. But in that moment, he understood, not having to be strong enough to fight back, to scream louder, to silence everything, is the way to survive. Sometimes, just standing still, letting the storm pass through your heart, is enough. That story is told as a symbolic image of the Stoic person, the person who does not seek to control the world, but chooses to control himself. The person who does not brace himself to win the storm, but learns to understand it, accept it, and go through it without losing himself. Because this world is not lacking in storms, but flowers that know how to be gentle in the storm are rare. Part 2 Analysis of Stoic Philosophy. Someone once said, "Stoicism does not turn you into stone, but teaches you to be soft at the right time, firm at the right place." And if you are still remembering the image of that flower, let us take a deeper look at the wisdom behind that gentleness. Stoicism, to many people, sounds cold, hard, and unfeeling, but that is a big misunderstanding. Actually, Stoicism does not tell you to suppress your emotions, but teaches you not to let your emotions suppress you. Like that flower, it still trembles when the wind comes, still gets wet when the rain falls, still can be crushed like any other fragile creature. But the magic is, it does not let itself be destroyed just because the wind rises. In the philosophy of the Stoics, especially Epictetus, he once said, "It is not the things that hurt us, but the way we think about them. The storm is not the problem. The problem is how we react to it." And if that thought is still vague, imagine, you are driving in a heavy rain. You cannot stop the rain. You cannot make the road less slippery. You cannot make other cars drive more carefully. But you can control the wheel. Slow down, keep your distance, and choose to stay calm to get to safety. That's what being Stoic is all about. It's knowing that most of what's out there, what other people think, say, do, or whether it's raining or shining, the weather is favorable or unfavorable, is out of your hands. But what you can always control is how you think, feel, and react. And that's why the flower is a symbol. Not because it's powerful, but because it doesn't panic. Not because it's tougher than anyone else, but because it knows what's worth holding on to. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once wrote in his Meditations, "If you are at peace within, the storms outside cannot touch you." Do you realize that? The truly strong person is not the one who is never hurt, he who does not let that hurt turn him into his own enemy. We live in an age where storms no longer come from nature, they come from judgment, comparison, pressure, failure and fear. Every day, you scroll through social media and see others successful, happy, radiant. You look back at yourself, feeling empty. You get fired, rejected, misunderstood. You get angry, you get hurt, you scream inside, like the storms that once blew through the valley. But remember that flower. It never stops blooming, not because it is still, but because it moves in the right way. It does not run from the storm. It does not challenge the storm. It just bows its head, waits, and then rises again. And that is what Stoic wisdom tells you. You do not have to scream louder than the storm. You just need to not let your mind be swept away by the wind. So when life challenges you, don't ask, "Why me?" Ask, in the midst of this storm, how will I choose to react so as not to lose myself? Part 3: Application in modern life. Have you ever felt like you were standing in the middle of a storm in everyday life? Not a storm of the sky, but a storm in your mind, when things don't go as you wish. An email rejecting you for your dream position. A friend turning away when you need them most. A failure that makes you doubt yourself. Modern storms don't roar with thunder, but whisper with doubt, anxiety and pressure. They don't wet your clothes, but they soak you inside. Cold sweats, sleepless nights, wordless sighs, and like the flower in the story, you can't stop the storm from coming, but you can learn to stand firm with your inner wisdom. So, what are the applications of Stoic wisdom in modern life? First, be clear. What is within your control, and what is not? You can't control how others love you, how your superiors judge you, or whether society recognizes your efforts. But you can control how you respond to judgment, how you practice each day, how you choose to be kind, even when you are hurt. That is true power. Second, focus on actions, not outcomes. A Stoic person doesn't base their happiness on external success or failure. They find peace in doing the right thing, with full awareness and commitment. You don't have to try to win life. You just have to live true to your values. A little bit each day, steadfastly, quietly, and sincerely. Third, practice the art of bowing your head at the right time. In a society that encourages holding your head high, sometimes knowing how to bow your head is the greatest courage. Bow your head to avoid meaningless arguments. Bow your head to admit you're wrong and learn again. Bow your head to take a step back, but not to take a step back in self-respect. Like a flower that doesn't break in a strong wind, because it knows that softness is a form of strength. And finally, take time each day to listen to yourself. We spend so much time reacting to the world, that we forget to stop and ask, what is inside me right now? Am I living up to what I believe? Who am I chasing, to the point of losing myself? Stoic wisdom is not found in books, nor in quotes to be displayed on social media. It is in the way you choose to be silent when others are noisy, in the way you choose to be kind when the world turns cold, and in the way you choose to stand still when the storms come. No one is born an indomitable flower, but everyone can learn to be gentle and strong, if they are quiet enough to listen to themselves, and brave enough to change from within. You see, that flower does not need the storm to stop to bloom. It just needs to keep its roots strong, its mind at peace, and the belief that, after every storm, the sky will shine again. And so do you. You don't need to wait for the world to be gentler to live more gently. You don't need to wait for others to acknowledge you to see your worth. You just need to keep your inner self steady, while everything outside is still spinning. That is the spirit of Stoic wisdom. It is not about being cold. It is not about pretending not to feel. It is about living with depth, with choice, and with the courage to not react unconsciously to every passing wind. If you have ever been a vulnerable person, If you have ever let criticism keep you up at night, if you have ever felt small in a vast and stressful life, remember, the small flower in the storm has never been a symbol of weakness. It is a symbol of inner wisdom, and you can start building that. Starting today. If you want to continue nurturing your inner wisdom and peace, don't forget to subscribe to Legacy of Thinkers, where you'll find lessons from philosophers, healing stories, and perspectives to help you stand firm in the storms of life. Share this video with someone who needs a moment of stillness. And finally, ask yourself this simple question: when the storm comes, will I choose to bloom, or will I choose to fade away?